Hello, and welcome back to Practice Intimacy. I'm Jami Lynn, and I am here to help you create the relationship and sex life that you've always wanted. What we're going to talk about today is listening. And for a lot of you, whenever you think about, I need to listen to my partner in order to have a good relationship and good communication, it's like, duh, of course that's true. And then for most people, they think they're already really good at this skill. I include myself in that. I think I'm already really good at listening. I am a trained therapist. I have been doing this for over 5 years, and it is still something that I have to practice. I practice to become a good listener constantly with all of my clients, and there are days whenever I do it really well, and there are days whenever I step out of sessions and I'm like, oh wow, I could have done a much better job just then. And then whenever I think about my partner, it becomes even more of a struggle, because for my partner, I'm not there to be a compassionate listener. That's not necessarily my job. I am there to relate to my partner. I am there to be myself and live my life and hopefully engage with this person in a way that makes us both feel good. So listening usually takes a little bit of a back burner and sharing my thoughts comes more to the forefront in my relationship. And I actually think that's true for most people. Even though we know that communication requires both speaking up and sharing ourselves and stepping back and taking a listening role, what people tend to do is they have a harder time listening. And this can be for a number of reasons. If you want to go a little bit more in depth about why it's hard to listen and things that'll just kind of help you with the very beginning process of learning how to listen, then check out this video. I go into detail there. But today's really more of a skill building, practice kind of building day. So I'm going to go into 3 different things that you can do to improve your listening skills. But before we even go there, first is making the commitment that you are going to work on listening more. And that does not mean I'm going to talk less, but what it might mean for you is simply bringing more attention, bringing your full attention to having your ears and heart open when you engage with your partner in conversation. And the reason to make this commitment is because you're showing this other person that you care about them. You care what they have to say, their point of view matters to you, and you're basically just demonstrating that you love them. I love you enough to give you my full attention and focus. So, after committing to listening, here are the 3 things you can do. I'm just going to list them and then I'll go into more detail. But first is quieting your own mind. Next is learning how to ask questions well. And then the last one is reflecting. So let's talk about quieting your own mind first. I actually think this is the foundation for being able to listen. The other things, they're really important, they're wonderful skills, but unless you can quiet your own mind in order to take in, rather than having like monkey mind going and all your thoughts racing and everything wanting to come out of your mouth because you're thinking, instead of that, coming into a space where you're really centered and you're able to have enough quiet, enough silence inside your own head that the other person's words and expressions and tone and everything like that can make it in. How do you actually do this? So I am a huge advocate for meditation. I think this is one of the most essential practices that all of us need. And there are some myths about what meditation is. You do not have to be sitting in lotus trying to clear your mind in order to be meditating properly. No. Meditation can actually just look like sitting or standing wherever you are and taking 30 seconds where you attempt to be completely present, where you let yourself hear all the sounds around you, you notice your breath, you notice your body sensations. Really, all that meditation is choosing one single thing that's happening right now in the present moment and putting all of your focus and attention on it. And it is better for you to do that kind of practice for a short period of time every single day than to do it for 20 minutes once in a while. You will literally get wonderful benefits of meditation if you do it for 60 seconds every single day. I just had a memory come up of the movie that came out of Tom Hanks where he's playing Mr. Rogers. And there's the scene where they sit for 60 seconds quietly in a restaurant together. 60 seconds ends up being a long time if you're really bringing your attention and focus to it. And it benefits anyone who does that kind of a practice. They will notice that their mind begins to quiet over time. So when it comes to quieting your own mind, the main thing I would suggest is start building in some kind of meditation practice where you have single pointed focus for a period of time in order to help your mind and thoughts quiet rather than having the normal chatter that's just always going. And if you're new to meditation, then I suggest checking out this video. I will lead you through a guided meditation where you can learn how to do this kind of a practice. And there are plenty of other videos on my channel where you can check out different ways to meditate and find what works for you, because there are so many different ways. To get the benefits of meditation, it does take some time. So that's not a great way to immediately quiet your mind in the moment whenever you're talking to your partner. Instead, meditation is going to build up over time to where after weeks, months, years of practicing, you'll just find that your natural state is to be more centered and calm and able to take in and witness what's going on rather than reacting to it and having chatter in your mind. So a more immediate way to quiet your mind whenever you're talking to your partner is actually to take deep breaths. So whenever we breathe deeply, and I'm thinking about like diaphragm deep breaths, where you're engaging a particular muscle in your body, the diaphragm, in order to calm down your nervous system. Our breath is a direct way to tap into our autonomic nervous system and bring things either down or up. You can do both with breath, depending on what kind of breath work you're doing. But in order to quiet your own mind as you're listening, if you notice yourself chattering in your head and not focusing as much on what your partner's saying, take a moment and do a deep breath where you inhale and you feel your belly expand, and you exhale and you feel your belly contract, and then recommit to listening to your partner well and focus your attention on them again. The next skill is asking questions. The reason why I think this one is a skill is partly because the way we ask questions matters. It is great to ask any question that you might have on your mind of your partner. However, I tend to lump them into two different categories. There's the categories of questions that are leading, and there's the category of questions that are just curious. And so if I am listening to my partner is telling me something, and I've already made a judgment about whatever they're saying. I already have thoughts in my head about what is true and what's not true. Then it is very likely that I'm going to ask leading questions that are going to communicate, hey, I actually think it's this way. Don't you agree with me? And what's happening there, if I'm doing that, is I'm being a little judgmental. And my partner's probably going to pick up on that and be defensive. And I am basically hiding my own thoughts within the context of a question. It's like a sneaky backdoor way just to say what's ever on my mind rather than truly listening to my partner. I'm just disguising my perspective as a question instead of a thought. The other way to ask questions with curiosity actually really centers the conversation more on your partner's perspective. Imagine they're telling you something and it's not clear to you. You want to know more. I'm thinking about my own partner. My partner has a lot of knowledge about philosophy. And while I have some knowledge about philosophy, it's not something I've studied well. So when my partner is talking to me about something that he's learning in philosophy, then curious questions would be like, okay, what does that mean to you? How does that apply to your life? Will you tell me the last time that really helped you? Or I might even ask, okay, that sounds really interesting. Will you tell me what is most important to you in all of this information that you just shared? One more word of caution about questions is there is a particular type of question that can put a person on the defensive. And that is any question that starts with the word why. Let me give an example. When it comes to philosophy, I'm just going to stay with this example. I could ask my partner, why are you interested in that philosophy? And there's nothing wrong with that question necessarily, but simply using the word why sets off the part of our brain that goes into a little bit of almost like a threat mode. My partner's asking me why because they think there's something wrong with me looking at this, thinking about this, whatever the case may be. Whereas I could ask the same question in a slightly different way and it would come across much softer. Oh, what's interesting to you about this philosophy? Feels more open, right? Let me say them both again, just so you get the difference. Why are you interested in this philosophy? What are you interested in about this philosophy? And it's just that one tiny little word that makes a difference. The last skill is reflection. So this is a skill that I actually learned in my therapy training, and I use it constantly whenever I'm in the chair working with people. But I have now come to a place where I also use it in life because it is just so helpful to listening. What you're doing when you're reflecting is you're basically just taking in whatever the person said to you and feeding it back to them in as close of words as you can, but while really holding on to whatever interpretation meaning you came up with, right? So let me try and give you an example. So if my partner was telling me that he enjoys reading existentialism and that one of the main principles he's enjoying from that particular philosophy is the idea that life holds anxiety because there are so many choices available to us. And there's an inherent anxiety in having to make choices. So if my partner were to say that to me, I might reflect back to him, oh, okay. So one of the things that you really like about existentialism is that they talk about this idea of choices creating an innate sense of anxiety. Is that right? And you actually don't even have to say, is that right? You don't even have to check out to make sure that your reflection was correct. I could just leave it there. Oh, so something that you're finding really interesting in existentialism is this idea that life has so many choices and that innately causes some anxiety inside of all of us. And just leave it at that. And my partner's either going to go, yeah, exactly, and then keep going and talk about why that's so exciting to him or even add to it. Or if I got something a little bit wrong, then my partner's probably going to correct me, but not in a, like, it won't feel bad to me or my partner in that moment because there's so much curiosity and openness and engagement in my tone. And when I'm doing that reflection, it's to check, hey, am I right? Am I getting it? Am I listening to you well? And my partner's either going to say yes in some way or no in some way. And the conversation will continue unfolding from there. By using these three tools, quieting your mind, asking questions, and reflecting, you will move into a space where you're better able to listen to the person that you care about, demonstrate your care through that attention and presence that you give them as you listen, and your communication is going to improve. I'm having one more thought right now at the end. And maybe I'll do a whole nother video on this at some point, but so often we feel like we're not being listened to. And I think one of the ways that we can actually begin to change this in relationship, where this no longer feels like an issue, is if we learn how to listen well, if we become really, really skilled at this, then we start modeling for our partner what it looks like to listen well. And as you learn how to do this, your communication will improve, which will improve the entire relationship. Any change you make towards health and relational positive growth will affect the entire relationship. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more information like this. I am sharing weekly free content with y'all about relationship health, ways to improve your relationship, and then ways to create a happier, more fulfilling sex life. I'll see you next time.